Got another great one from the great himself, Mr. William Donahue, well before his time, wish he was still around, that is for certain, and I will let you hear it.
Let's look together at something that I think you will find interesting, and we'll finish it up next week. We'll kind of look at the human mind, how your mind has been programmed. I was watching television yesterday, and I turned on a religious program, and
we got, let's see, 119B or pound, your success door is locked. All right, okay.
Watching a Dr. Kennedy, James Kennedy. Come on, send your chair's waiting for you here. I was watching Dr. James Kennedy, and he was talking about the New Age, and he had a lot of problems with it. He said, because it is really taking up with psychology. And as a result, he was insinuating that when you get involved with psychology, you kind of come against Christianity, which is true. And what he said really shocked me. First of all, he's a very distinguished-looking man. He's an eloquent speaker, beautiful speaker. He has a magnificent church setting with everything that, it just had credibility all over it. I mean, it was a magnificently beautiful place. But what I saw there actually was I saw people being programmed. Because what he said was this. He says, a lot of these people today in this psychology, they'll say to you that you are gods. And as such, he said, the problem is, where does this originate from, the fact that you are gods? He says it originates from Satan. He says Satan was the first one to say, you are gods. And he said to Adam and Eve, if you'll do this, you will be like God. And so he says that this type of a thing, which brings psychology together and gets people to think that they have this position as gods, is from Satan. And so then I thought, well, gee, this guy is really a credible speaker. He's extremely distinguished, has all the credentials from all of the great universities. He's speaking in this magnificent place with all of the surroundings. And very few of those people were ever going to look really into a Bible to check anything. And so they all walked out of there with their minds programmed that this philosophy of believing that you are gods is satanic. He had
Interesting.
done this, and he had to do this in order to protect the system. He has to do this in order to protect the traditional system of religion. But what I want you to do, I want you to open those little Bibles that I've given, or that you have out here, and I want you to open to page 876. And if you open to page 876, the rest of you go to the book of John, and I want you to look at something in there that Reverend Kennedy, in all of his eloquence, failed to note. And this is John chapter 10, okay? John chapter 10. And if you go with me, you'll go to verse 34. And there you'll see the words of Jesus Christ. And what does he say? Is it not written in your law, I said, you are gods? And if he called them gods unto whom the word of God came, the scripture cannot be broken. So it wasn't Satan who said you are gods. It's Jesus Christ who said you are gods. But the eloquent Christian preacher on television with thousands, millions of people watching him neglected to tell people that this was said by Jesus. He said, it's said by Satan. Because the point is, if you don't realize that you're a god, and if you think you're a sniveling sinner, as religion tries to burden you with, then, of course, you will continue to reach out to the system instead of reaching into yourself. Now, let's go a little further than that. And there's a statement in the Bible that's in the Old Testament that is directed to you. And watch this, and try to understand it if you can. Go to page 506, and at that you'll go to the book of Psalms. Book of Psalms, and go to Psalm 82, page 506. And this is, quote-unquote, God, whatever that is, speaking. And God says in Psalm 82, verse 6, I have said, you are gods. and all of you are children of the Most High, but you shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. So what do I have to do so I don't die like man and fall like one of the princes? Look at verse 8. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit all nations.
So the fun thing with the serpent is hypothesis, that is to say your own plot and narrative. What the literary reading allows you to do is to find new details that work within that overall plot or narrative. Now the question becomes, what's the way in which the specific details and the particularities kind of show us the subtlety and the nuance to really bring to the fore these theological insights that are so important to our traditions?
The book of Genesis, which is the first book in the Bible, is profound, serious, and mysterious. Did all this start somewhere? And if so, where? And if there actually was a creator, he would actually have to be outside nature. He wouldn't be just that dense lump at the beginning of things. He'd have to be something outside that thing to be the source of it.
What I hope you'll get from studying Genesis in this course is a deeper appreciation of the biblical insights with regards to the human person, its psychology, our predilection towards rivalry, but also reconciliation. I'm Justin Jackson, professor of English at Hillsdale College. This is the course on Genesis. Let's begin.
Cool. Actually, I dug that.
So that's what we're here really to talk about. You have been conditioned, your mind has been conditioned, and for all of the years that your mind has been conditioned, you have reacted and you have suffered, and we'll show you how. And you know, conditioning is an interesting thing. Gina, come here for a second. I want to introduce everybody on television. I want to introduce everybody on television all over the United States and Canada. The young lady used to be my secretary. This is Gina. Okay. Now, will you just tell me, do you know how to spell spot? I mean, do you know how to spell? Do you know how to spell spot?
Yes.
How do you spell spot?
S-P-O-T.
Spot. Now, will you spell it 5 times?
S-P-O-T, 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 S-P-O-T.
What do you do when you come to a green light?
Go.
Good. All right. Good. Good. And no, come up for a second.
No, I was your secretary. I wouldn't get that wrong.
99 people out of 100 will say stop. Okay. And you did good, but you know, what led you? Why were you thinking that? Just.
I was just concentrating on getting it right, but if I was going with the flow of things, I would have said stop.
Okay. See, what she did then, and that's why she's sitting here, because I've known her for a long time, and one of the things that she has done in her life has worked to break the conditioning. That's why in October the 21st, she'll be up there with us to see Kataro. We're breaking the conditioning. We're looking for something new. But it's true that if you condition people, and 99 people out of 100, if you say, you know, S-P-O-T, 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 and then say, what do you do when you come to a green light? They'll say, stop. Okay. But it's because the mind is conditioned, and that's what we'll look at tonight. Our conscious mind is the only entity on the face of the earth that remembers its beginning and looks forward to its end.
Wow.
The only one. And what happens basically in our lives, you know, we become like a puff of smoke, don't we? Take a look. There's a fellow's hat hanging on the wall. Was quite a character, quite a young man. That black hat. You can't see it on TV. The black hat hanging on the wall is kind of a memory of somebody that came through this church. Very strange young man. Had all kinds of difficult encounters with the law, and died in an automobile accident. And basically, his horror of his life was because of conditioning. Everything was programmed into here, how he would react, you know. And he tried desperately. And in fact, we worked very hard with him, and the conditioning was beginning to change. And then something happened. We'll get into that in another time. But basically, all of us then, what are you trying to do? You're trying to figure something out in your life, aren't you? I mean, because after all, what's your purpose here? What reason do you have? And the thing is that we're always trying to figure out next week or next month or what we're going to do, and yet we don't even know for what. What's the purpose of it? Where are you going? You know, when you think if you want security, and then you're living like a flea on a tennis ball going through the universe at 40,000 miles an hour with nobody driving it, you know, where's your security? Where are you going to go? And now, Consider why you are the way you are. Why is Rose the way she is? Why is Don the way he is? Why is Albert the way he is? Why is Margaret the way he is? The point is, you think the way you do out of habits. It's habit.
The children's book market has been flooded with garbage since the launch of ChatGPT. But here's the funny part. This has made authentically written children's books stand out even more. That's why 2020...
That's why you are the way you are. You think the way you do out of habit. And habits are thoughts which dig themselves deep into the subconscious. Thoughts that are like seeds, and they burrow themselves deep into the subconscious. And when they are ready to blossom, those negative thoughts which have buried themselves deep into your subconscious will one day blossom into tumors. Sure? One day, those thoughts which have buried themselves deep into your subconscious will blossom as tumors or some other kind of disease. And all of the festering that goes on in our minds, all of the festering that comes out through the subconscious, all of the hate which resurrects itself and grows out of the subconscious, we call tradition. Oh, even your parents said, why do you think the way? Because you do, that's why. Huh? Did you ever ask your father, why? Because I said so. And you know what? Many years ago, he asked his father why, and his father said, because I said so. Nobody ever has said why. It's just because. It's tradition. It's the way it's done. Go to page 792 in the little Bibles and look at Matthew chapter 15 and what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 15. Page 792. And in verse 6 he says, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus you have made the commandment of God of no effect by your tradition. You see, Jesus Christ had contempt for tradition. He had contempt for religion. He had contempt for everything that the system holds valuable and wonderful. Let it all fall down, he said. Let it all tumble down. He said, oh, what beautiful churches. He said, nothing but a pile of rocks. Let it all fall down. Because he had contempt for the tradition. But here's the point that you've got to understand. And this is the most magnificent thing of all. Inside of you is the power and the energy to take us all above all the negativity of these deep thoughts which are burrowed into our subconscious. All of the negativity which produced the hurt, all of the negativity which produced the disease and the violence. Inside of you is a power to take you above that. But you know what? Right now, your traditional thought patterns have you firmly locked in the lower. You're locked in the cellar. And there's a deadbolt lock on it, and very few of us know how to get the key to open the door to let all of that crap out. Very hard. Because, you know, it's important to understand something. The same power that brings bad fortune brings good. It's not a different power. There's only one power. It's not a question of the power. It's a question of how you use the power. Look at me. Understand something. What choice do you have but to take what I say to you? Where are you going in your life? You're getting older. Things start to run down. Where are you going? What's your direction? What are the possibilities? If you start to take into you what Jesus said, what Krishna said, what Buddha said, what I'm saying to you, if you take into this, then the future is unlimited. The possibilities are astral. Otherwise, you know what your future holds. If you take into yourself what the religionists tell you, then you can look forward to something supposedly happens at a Golden Gate after you die. Nothing now, after you die. If you take this power, which is electrical power, and you put it into the hands of an electrician, you put it into the hands of somebody who studies the power, understands the power, then they can light up the world. You put it in my hands, and I'll burn the building down in 5 minutes. Why? Because I don't understand the power. It's not the power is evil. It's when you touch the power and you don't understand what it is that you misuse it. So a person can use an automobile to drive to visit somebody at the hospital or to bring chocolates to their aunt who lives in Chicago. Another person can use the same automobile to rob a bank. It's not the automobile. It's those who are using it. And that's why, if you look with me, and I forgot to write the page down, so somebody tell me where it is. Isaiah 45. What page is that on in the little Bibles? Isaiah chapter 45. 609, page 609. Okay? Isaiah chapter 45. And look what it says. Something that I very few Christians have ever seen, very few religionists have ever seen. But God makes the statement in Isaiah 45, verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. God creates evil. How? Atomic energy. It can light millions of homes. The same energy misused can kill millions of people instantly. So what's being said is the power is given unto you. How you use the power will either make it good or make it evil. And the unfortunate thing is, let's say if all of us were to go down to the nuclear plant here in Oyster Creek tomorrow and go to work there, and we'll take over the place. The same power that is lighting our building here now would all of a sudden erupt into streams of people flowing out of the county. Planes, everybody going in opposite directions because Ethel is in charge of the nuclear plant. Here is the nuclear scientist that is taking over. Nothing to worry about. Do we have a present for you? So what are we talking about? It isn't a different power. The power hasn't changed, but all of a sudden people who are putting their hands on the power